Very good. Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Gonzalo Ruzafa. I'm from Haddock, from Argentina. And in this talk, we are going to make a quick review about how to sell an Odoo project. First of all, sorry I didn't use the template of OCA. It was messy and I didn't have time to change it. Okay. You think that is the template of OCA. So first, to start, one thing that I am an engineer, I'm an industrial engineer. When we started at OCA a long time ago, somebody had to sell. So one of the team was very good at computers, the other guy was very good at processes, and all that was left was me, so I had to sell, right? So, and one thing that is important to know when you are an engineer and you want to sell is that because you didn't study the commercial profession, you think it's easy, and you think that it's not a profession and it's looks complex and that you don't have to study and you don't have to understand how it works. You just think that you build a great product, that you have a great service, and you put a price, and everybody's going to come and buy to you, right? I should have a GIF, the ones that Flor uses. It doesn't work that way, right? You do everything great, but people are not coming to your door, right? And so that's why we put on this talk. We talk a lot about how to do it, but we don't talk a lot about how to start, right? And to start, we need to sell, right? So first, I like always to start with the why. And I always like to think salespeople as people that are connecting needs with people that with pains, right? Needs with products or with services, right? People have problems, people have organizations that doesn't work well. So what we are doing when we are selling is we are trying to find them and to give them a value proposal that can help them, right? And without that, we don't have nothing. We can have the best product, the best service, but we are not going to be able to help them, right? Because we don't know where they are, they don't know where we are, so that's a problem. I need to be there? Okay, sorry. So, and why? Because we want, I think all people that work with ERPs, they want to help organizations thrive. So why we are doing it? We want to make a better world by empowering organizations. So we want to give them the technology, we want to train them, and we want to find them to provide the value proposition. We need to find them and understand what pains do they have. It's not the same pain that a company of one niche can have or another niche or whatever. So the first thing we try to understand is what pain are we solving? Sometimes we start with the product and the service and we go to find the people that can be helped by that. And sometimes we find the people that have a pain and we build a product or a service to cope with them. The thing that we shouldn't do is to not acknowledge them, right? Because otherwise we won't have a value proposition, right? And the last part, but it's important, you need to sell to get the resources to be able to repeat all these things. You need the resources, so you need to sell, right? So, a good advice is try to get information, books, trainings, wherever, but take it as a development technique or a functional technique. You need to learn how to do it well, and there's a lot of information and documentation in order to do it better. To sell is to find, understand, and help, right? I like to think commercial people as people that help people. There's a money transaction, of course, because there's a value transfer, but it's not the core of the issue. There's a lot of commercial people that are not really commercial people, that they are just looking for money as the goal. I like to think that selling is not that, right? It's trying to provide value. You need money to transfer the value and to make it work, right? How? I already said this, but organizations are in pain. We need to understand why and give them a value proposition and a price that is below value perception, right? Now we are talking to talk briefly about this, but it's an important concept. What we are trying to do when we are developing a product or a service, it's like trying to understand the best that we can our client, right? The end user. I like user more like client or person, right? So every time that we find something that is a problem for them and that gives them pain, and we solve it, we are pushing the value up, right? because value is an internal perception of the person. So they're going to try to understand if what we have relieves their pain or make their lives easier, and value is going to go up and up, right? And we have a cost that we can work on it, but sometimes it's fixed. So we will try that the value is on this side of the cost, right? It has to be there. And when we set the price, it has to be somewhere in the middle, right? So how can we have a bigger price? We need to increase the value, right? Because that's our ceiling. So many times we are in a negotiation and we are not being able to demonstrate value, right? So value is maybe here, right? So price is over value, and the customer says, I don't want it, right? It could be because value is really here, or because we are not being able to show them that the value is here, right? So now we are going to talk about how the funnel works and how we are continuously trying to push value up. In a commercial area, usually we cannot drop cost because that's something from the structure. We can work on our commercial costs, but that's a structure issue. And we are always trying to find a price that is below value, because we cannot make like a blood measure to the client and say, okay, this is the value that it got, so we need to test, right? But if you standardize you understand the pain of the customer, you understand how you can show them that you have a value proposition, that it works, usually you will have an idea on how the value will be perceived, because when you do it over and over again, and you will try, and overall you'll find the price that is below that value, and you find conversion rates that are good, okay? Sorry, this is very technical, but it was important for me to understand it better. So now we are going to talk about funnel. Who here works with funnels in their commercial areas? Okay. I hope they are from Maddox. Okay, nobody. Okay. When you talk about a funnel, it's different from a tunnel, because a tunnel, everything that gets in gets out, right? It's a pipe. When you talk about a funnel, the things that come in are not the same things that come out. So that's the first things that, as an engineer, you need to know. It's, okay, I give you a product, you give me the money, and everything's great. No, it doesn't work that way. You make the proposal, but there's going to be a lot of steps that have different percentage, and that will end up, if I do everything good, in closure. So the first important concept is that over time, we need to understand our conversion rates. Anybody here had heard about conversion rates? No? Anyone? Conversion rates. Conversion rates. No? Yeah? Okay. Conversion rates, it's like a percentage that you get statisticals that I have 100 leads, how many of those leads are going to end up in a sale? And that percentage is very important, right? And we will see it in the next step, right? But if you don't do it, I strongly recommend you to try to learn your conversion rates, because otherwise you could think that you are having a crappy commercial process, and maybe not. For example, a 5% conversion rate is pretty normal in the ERP industry. And sometimes I hear people that tell me, I had 10 opportunities and didn't close any of them. So usually you need 20 leads to get just one sale. So maybe you are not getting enough leads. It's not that you are doing things bad, or it's not that you need to go to the product guides to tell them, change the product because I'm not selling. Right? That's a bad strategy. Usually it's that you're not finding the niche that works better, or you're not having enough leads. So this brings us to the first step. Develop a lead factory, right? You have, I suppose that here everybody has a product or a service, so usually you know what pain do you relieve, or that's an important concept. You need to know what pain do you relieve, not how the product works. That's something that engineers do a lot. They try to be specialists in what the product does and not what pain it releases, right? And when you're talking as a commercial, you may not know how it works, but you need to know what it solves, right? And the people on the other side are going to want to know what it solves, not how we do it, because then they will be trained in order to do it, right? So that's important. So the first part that is here, it's in the funnel, it's the first part. The first part is lead generation. So It is usually called SDR, Sales Development Representative. That's usually the person or the role that it's like getting the leads and processing them, right? So first you need to have enough leads. So you need to develop your inbound channel. It could be a passive one. You could have a form in your website, right? But usually for that to work, you need to have a lot of brand and a lot of awareness, right? Because it means that somebody looked for your webpage, right? So usually the inbound channel, it's the place where you end up when they already know you, or because you have made some kind of action that made them go to a webpage, right? You may go to an event and give cards, or you may work with Google Ads because you are paying for advertising. Usually it's expensive to work with Google Ads, but maybe you are solving problems on the medical science, right? So you can make a campaign in Google Ads that says, I'm the ERP for medical science. It doesn't matter if it's Odoo, you're working with medical science. So the campaigns are cheaper, and the people that are looking for you, they can read, we solve this and this and this, your pain, and they are going to go to a web page. So there's a lot of ways, there's meta, there's SEO, but it's always important to think about your inbound channel, because it's going to be the difference in having leads or not having leads, right? The other point is focus in one problem and become expert. When people that are starting their business, they don't have like a very powerful budget for marketing. They don't have a product that solves all things. So it's much better to try to focus in one problem and to be the best one in that problem, right? If you want to be the best in a lot of problems, you're probably not going to be. You're going to be average. But if you are focusing on one issue, you're probably going to be smarter at responding. You're going to understand better the pain, so you're going to be better. So what will happen to your conversion rates? It's a question. They will go, right? So you want to show more value so that the conversion rate goes up, so you need less leads, because leads are expensive, right? It costs a lot to get leads, so you're trying that. You are always going to work with those two variables, leads and conversion rates, right? Process leads fast. This comes when you have some kind of a big pipeline, but it's always best not to spend a lot of time processing leads that are not your fit, because you will lose a lot of energy, a lot of time that you need to increase the conversion rate of the actual leads that are qualified. So it's really important in the SDR process to try to understand if it's a fit, and if it's not a fit, okay, but we can make it work, because it usually doesn't work. The conversion rate is very low, and you spend a lot of time that you need to attend to a meeting or to process another lead, or to go to an event or whatever, right? And you're selling meetings. In this part, you're not trying to sell the product. You're not trying to close it. I always say that if you meet a girl or a boy and you say, okay, let's get married, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, you need to go out, and you need to do a lot of things before going there, right? So that's the first step. When you sold the meeting, and how do you sell the meeting? You have to show them in the first call that you understand their pain, you know what they are talking about, and that will give you the meeting. If you understand them, it will give you a meeting. You don't have to show them anything, just that you understand them, and that you have some kind of validation that you have coped with that problem before, right? So those two things. I understand you, and I have worked on this before. Oh, you have problems with stocks, and sometimes you have a shortage. Yeah, that's really common in the supply chain industry. One time it happened to me that blah, 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 blah. And we solved it this way. It was great. And the guy, okay, this guy understands me. I will give you some of my time that is very expensive, because I like to watch reels in Instagram. I want to do a lot of things. I will give you that time to you so we can have a meeting, right? Second step, be great at demonstrating how you relieve the pain. The first meeting should be all about demonstrating how you relieve pain, right? You need to say, okay, I remember that we discussed about shortage. I remember that we discussed about, I don't know, product qualification or whatever, okay? So you need to demonstrate them with real facts with the product. You need to have a real demo, not a presentation. I hate presentations. I did a presentation here because we need to presentation. But it's much better to have the product working. And a very common thing that people in the commercial, usually when you're starting, the founder is doing the presentation, so you know your product, right? But it's very important to understand that when you are showing the product, you are not showing how it works. You're not showing the parameterization, or you are going to bore them, right? You just want to tell them, okay, you have the shorter problem. Here you have a point of sell, how you call it in English? Point of stock. I know it in Spanish, but it's the control stock in which you can set an automatic purchase order, for example, and you just show it, and okay, the guy will say, okay, I'm sure it works, it's there, okay, he understands. So you're going to try to check all the pains that they have and how to solve it. That's the goal in the first meeting. So be great at demonstrating that, and demonstrating that you can cope with the pain. Be great at listening more than talking, right? You need to listen, because they are going to feel. If you listen, you're going to be more efficient in the time that you use, because you're going to understand what the guy, he's going to give you the information about the value he's needing. If you let them talk, they're going to say 3 things that are the things why he's looking maybe for an ERP in this case, right? They're going to say it if you let them talk. So let them talk. We engineers, we like to give the solution before we know the problem. It's usual, I do that. But it's better to listen, right? Detect pain, do not show the house, focus on the way and the demonstration of understanding the situation and capability to deliver value, right? So it's more or less it. So if you did this, great. They are going to close the meeting. Okay, that was great. You want to try to book a new meeting before closing this, right? It's really important. Okay, let's talk again. Okay, great. No, you don't do that. You end the meeting with another meeting, right? If it's a fit, maybe you understood here that it's not a fit, and you ditch them, right? But all people end up in, it's very usual for junior commercial that it was great. They are going to call me and they're going to, no, it doesn't work that way. The person goes away and they have another problem and they start working on another thing and they forget and goodbye. You need to, in the last 10 minutes, to get a new call, right? So it's really important. And if you did everything great, they are going to talk with the guys in the office. They're going to say, okay, I talked with the guy that can solve my problem, I understand. And some other guy in the office is going to say, okay, but how is invoicing in that product? They are going to come more questions, and they are going to start digging more in the how, right? If you fulfill this, you're going to enter the how zone, right? It's good, the how zone. I'm going to use that concept, the how zone, right? And this is the how zone. Right? You are deeper in the funnel. So when you go deeper in the funnel, what happens with conversion rates? You do always say, it's like they go up, right? Because you are qualifying more and more. So it's more probable that they are going to buy, right? Here. So when we are deeper into the funnel, you have to start to be more clear about the scope, right? You have more time. The guy is going to, so you can say, okay, this can work. Maybe this is not the best tool for you in this topic. That's important. When you are sincere about something that your product doesn't have, it gives you validation to the customer. Because if you say everything yes, the person on the other side is going to say, this person is lying. It cannot be everything. Everything cannot be fulfilled, right? And that's nonsense, right? So you need to be clear about the scope. Hopefully, you will have more yes than no's, so that they move forward. Sometimes it happens in Odoo, we are really, really sincere, and sometimes they say, okay, we cannot make it, and they go away, and they look for other solutions, and they'll come back, and they say, okay, I will resign to this functionality, because I believe that what you said is real, because you've been honest. We checked the same product with another person, and he told us that it had it, he couldn't demonstrate it, he's full of, right? So it doesn't work. Go to gap analysis if needed and charge for it. This is very important. Sometimes when you are working with ERP, it's not as simple as maybe with a, mailing solution. And you cannot go maybe to a freemium model, right? Starting free and then charging for it. So if you cannot like really understand, usually the customer is, if you validate, if you are right here, could be interested in buying a gap analysis. That could be really cheap because it's maybe 20, 30 hours, whatever. And it will allow to analyze various scope. It is important that you charge it. And why it's important that you charge it? Because otherwise they won't commit to the process. They won't value the hours. They may not attend the meetings or whatever. You can charge it cheap if you want, with a big discount, but you need to charge it, right? And the conversion rate after gap analysis, where it goes up. It goes up. When you go to gap analysis, usually it's 50-50, 60-40, it's very high. You may find things that you cannot work on it, but it validates your relation. They understand how you work. It gives them a lot of information. So usually, if you're not that bad, they will advance. And in this meeting, in the second meeting, you need to demonstrate expertise. So maybe you will have people that are not that senior in the first steps because you have lower conversion rates. But when you get here, it's like you have a good material, so you need to protect it. So there you can spend more expensive hours in getting there, maybe to get an expert to be involved. An important thing to understand when you get an expert involved here is what do you need to tell the expert to say and not to say. And that doesn't mean saying him, okay, lie about this. No, it's don't go deep in what? In technical, in how, because you're going to bore the client. There's a sweet spot that you are showing them that you know how to do it, but you are not making it boring, right? So maybe sometimes the commercial is working with the expert and saying, okay, we can move forward. It's like testing that, okay, validation, move forward, don't bore him. Okay, so if this works well, you get to the end of the, not the end, but before the end, it's like you get to quotation tool. What I showed before about value and price means that if you start with price, sometimes you start with price because you already have product validation and you already have value. For example, you say, okay, Google gives you the price at the landing page. And why do they do that? And why don't they go to the funnel to move value up before putting the price? Why do you think they do that?
You already know the value.
You already know the value. Oh, everybody's using Google. You know how, yeah. 5 minutes? Okay. I put you for a question. Okay, so quotation, it's a tool, but it's the last tool because first you need to show them value. Otherwise, you won't find price is going to need to go very low because you don't push value up. So you need, okay, I make it cheaper because value is it's too low, right? Make it simple. Don't make complex quotations, right? You try to make it as simple as you can, right? 20 pages with a lot of specifications, it doesn't work. Make it flexible so they can try to, because sometimes they understand value, that it's really up, and price is below value, but they cannot afford it because maybe they don't have the money. Maybe they say, okay, it's fair, but I don't have the money. So if you make it flexible, if you can start with less apps, if you can start with less users or whatever, you can make them afford that's negotiation, right? That's the last part. When you are working with ERPs, you are trying to win the future because if you build a relation with them, it will give you a recurring revenue that will help you build your structure. So you will sometimes have to resign the short term for the mid-term or the long term. So be ready to resign the short term in favor of the medium long term. If they are willing to pay a recurring for maintenance or for hours or for whatever, you can lower the entry point if it helps them to enter after showing the value proposition, right? Otherwise, it's going to be a problem. Defend value, negotiate price. Never compromise value. You always have to say, our product is great, our service is great, it comes with this pain. So do we agree about value? Okay. But we can negotiate about price because I want to build a relation with you. So I can work with price. But don't tell me that the product is not that good, so you can pay less, right? Value is there, and you defend it like like a lion, right? But the price can go up, down, because you want to build a relation. Put deadlines. That's key. You need to make them move forward the funnel or go out of the funnel. So, okay, I call you on Friday, okay, at that time, okay, great. And if it doesn't work well, after that deadline, okay, thank you very much, this didn't work, so you move to the next. Remember that maybe you will get one sale through 20 leads, so you're going to need to reject a lot of leads. And be aggressive. There are more fishes in the sea. I'm not talking about being aggressive in the sale. You can be aggressive on the sale, but it's not like be pushy. It's like, okay, do you need this? You need that? You need, okay, I give it to you, or I'll try to give it to you. And if I give it to you and you're hesitating, and you're, okay, we'll see each other again. And you go to fish another fish, right? You are aggressive in the short term and you move forward, right? And that's it. Okay. Thank you very much. So, questions? No questions? Yeah. Okay.
So you mentioned that for a gap analysis we should chart. How
Yeah.
We should chart them actual hours, or we should chart number of, percentage of the total deal?
Okay, that's a good question. This is my opinion. I don't have like any supporting paper or whatever. For me, it's better to charge near the cost for you, right? Because if you charge a percentage of the project, it doesn't make real sense, because maybe it's a very big project and you want to charge 2%, and the customer, what he's going to analyze is value against price. So if he if value is trying to understand if this will work, it will be a value. It's not a very high value, because maybe it doesn't work for them, so they will lose that money, right? Maybe they will learn something in the way, but they will lose it. So you will need to put price below that value that is low. So you need to move forward. If you go to a gap analysis, it's because you have an idea that you could move forward. If you don't have a lot of possibilities, you don't go to a gap analysis, because you're not selling gap analysis. It's just a tool that you have to move forward. So it has to be cheap. Yeah. No more questions? Okay, thank you very much.